Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Nihar Venugopal. I work for Insider.in and I've been a JavaScript developer for about 5 odd years now. And for the longest time, I'd only worked on Node.js and sort of building systems and architecting large things. But then I discovered React and everything changed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about JavaScript. I discovered
Yeah.
JavaScript and my life has become JavaScript.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's like, so I've been talking to people about it and we've been talking about how as React developers, we're like little weeds.
Right.
And wherever we find space, we sort of get in there and we introduce React into the ecosystem, into the enterprise, and we're like, let's do this. Let's
That's
make
really
everything React.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. React all the things. So I know you've been really passionate these days about just like the idea of shipping less code, and you're really passionate sort of champion for the import proposal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited that finally there's a way that is, sort of framework agnostic and built into the language that we can lazy load stuff or we can asynchronously load stuff. Because I mean, I use the word crisis, but it's not really that bad. But still, there's a real problem out there, which is that there's a disconnect between the developers building it and the users using it, because they're building it on their MacBooks.
Right.
And people are using it on their, 5-year-old Android phones.
Right.
And there's a huge disconnect there. And the only way to bridge that is for developers to be really conscious about and budget conscious almost in a way of the amount of JavaScript that they're shipping, right? And that's something that I'm really excited about, the dynamic import, because that makes it really easy for a lot of people to start jumping on this and doing it without going like, oh my God, I need to learn another framework,
That's interesting. I find that developers in these are much more sensitive about shipping code to how large your application is.
Yeah, because we suffer from it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, the big difference is that we're on third world internet. We don't talk about it.
Right.
Right? And it's what we use on a day-to-day basis. And for us, it makes a difference.
Right.
When we're going home and we open it on our phones on the train or whatever, and then that makes a real difference when we see that, oh my God, it's so much slower.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so we're a lot more conscious about it. And I think that seeps through in the kind of work that's also coming out. I mean, your Flipkarts and your housings have been at the forefront of doing progressive web apps and some of the most cutting edge sort of Flipkart Lite and stuff like that.
Right. Very interesting. Very interesting. I know you've done talks about the import proposal, and I was just wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So the idea basically that I was trying to drive home was, you need a code split, because obviously you need to send less JavaScript to your users. So, and the idea behind it is, how can I send just the minimum amount of JavaScript required to show the user what's on screen, right? And then how can I prioritize mobile-first JavaScript? Because that's something that as a community we've not really thought about. We've thought about mobile-first CSS, we've thought about mobile-first UI, UX, but the idea of mobile-first JavaScript is still not really something that's seeped through. And the thing is now, because you can, lazy load something, you can say, I don't want this right now, or I'll load this and then I'll load something else and progressively enhance it. The idea of mobile-first JavaScript now sort of becomes a reality, where you load the JavaScript that's only required for your mobile site, and on the desktop where you have a much better internet connection, your CPU is much faster, you load a whole lot of other stuff as well. But the idea is your canonical experience with the least amount of JavaScript, the least amount of CSS, the fastest performing one has to be your mobile one.
So how can people actually start using this now?
So it's available so Webpack 2, for example, supports it right out of the box. It's a stage 3 proposal, which means while it's not yet in browsers, everyone pretty much agrees on sort of how it works. So browsers are very soon going to start implementing it. Some of them have already sort of started some initial work on it, I think.
Right.
And so you can just start using it right away. If you just stick that dynamic import statement in your code, Webpack will automatically split out a separate file, right? And props to them, they've got a fantastic API, they've been at the cutting edge, and they've made sure that this has full support in the Webpack ecosystem. So this, using the dynamic import way of doing things, is now the canonical way to lazy load and to split your code if you're using Webpack 2. There's literally no other way to do it. This is the way that you have to do it.
I feel like most of our viewers are actually in the West. So can you tell me a little bit about what is the React community like in the East?
So one of the really exciting things about the React community is it's very inclusive. right? And one of the things is we're at the other end of the world, but because of just how diverse this community is and how much communication happens in it, we feel like we're a part of it.
That's
which is something
great.
which is something phenomenal, right? And I go for a React Conf, and there's so many people here from across the world. There's people who've come from Paris. There's people who've come from, like me, who've come from India. There's people who've come from other parts of India, and it's really great and we feel like we're a part of this community, right? And for us, the way that we think of it is essentially we have this great framework, we have this great community, and the thing is, frameworks and communities are agnostic to cultures. If you've got something that's performant, if you've got something that radically changes the way you think about UIs, the way React does, it doesn't matter if I'm an Indian developer or if I'm in the West. But what matters is how you use the framework. And that's where I think the community is lacking in a bit, where the way that we end up using React, the way that we end up using all these frameworks is sort of not very heavily dependent on performance. And because in the West, that isn't really so much of a problem. But then coming to the East, where performance matters more, so that sort of takes precedence. Which is why you have these amazing frameworks like Vue.js, for example, that's, been so widely adopted in China, with everyone from Alibaba to everyone using it.
So really, you feel like the Vue.js adoption has been because of performance?
I think so. I think because it's super easy to get that out of the box. And here's the thing, with React, it's just really easy as well. It's just that's not something the community has focused on, right? It's always been something that's a little bit to the side.
The React community.
The React community. It's always been a little bit to the side, right? Like it's not even one of those things where, and I think I have an issue open on GitHub for this, is if I go to the React website right now and I go to the docs, there's nothing talking about how you should not send so much JavaScript down the wire. There's all these like cool tutorials on I should do this and how do you lift your state up and how do you work with reducers and how do you do this and how do you work with props and how do you work with static types, but how do I ship only the JavaScript that's required? That's not really there. But it's something that I've been talking to the core team, and they've been working with the Google Chrome developer relations team, and they've been working on that, and I think that's something that now the community is going to sort of coalesce around, because for so long we've been focusing on just getting React apps shipped out there, getting them widely adopted. Now that it's taken over the world, I think it's time to start doing that.
That's amazing. I love hearing about differences in the East and the West and what different developers focus on based on where they're located.
Right.
I love that. That's amazing. Cool. Where can we find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter. That's pretty much the only place where I'm active. I don't have a Facebook account. But
it's too slow, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I've never had one. It's just, it's just been too antisocial, I guess. But at Niharvi, anywhere, on GitHub, Twitter, that's where you'll find me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Cheers. Thank you.
Hey there. Are you into reactive programming using JavaScript? Do you have to deal with asynchrony in your web app? And join this instructor Ben Lesh to learn all of the ins and outs of RxJS in his hands-on workshop. Available online and in person, go to rxworkshop.com for more details and to book your spot today.